Right, Karen, let's get stuck in. We have just over a month ago, the Great Britain team came back from the World Swimming Championships with a record tally of 9 medals. And I kind of want to start there and just talk about that. In comparison to the 2013 World Champs, where we had 1 medal, and we've now gone to 9. I guess that must have been something you looked on really proudly and were really pleased about.
Absolutely. I think the trials a few months before, we'd seen some really exciting swims, but historically it's been hard for the athletes to go from the trials and then do it again at the major championships, and that's where quite often the British teams faltered. So it's been really close, and it is tiny margins in sport, and they've been there or thereabouts, but just not quite getting across the line. And this time we seem to do that. We still actually had a few fourths and a few near misses, so it wasn't that everything was going Great Britain's way, but it seems to be when you have a good start and they got the momentum, they had a great first day, they just seem to get on a roll and build with confidence. So the athletes that you're expecting to deliver, Adam Peaty, who went into those championships as the world record holder, the new guy, so a different experience for him. He still, day one he had his heats and semi-finals and swam really well, and so that just got the team going, and he delivered with a gold medal. So as much as 9 medals is amazing, it was the number of gold medals that I think was really quite surprising.
What I love about swimming is actually, from an outsider's point of view, you think it's a very individual sport, and ultimately it is. When the gun goes, it's just you. But the team environment is actually really important. Is it? That's what you're describing there.
Yeah, it is. It's very different, and I've always been quite surprised when I was doing major championships how different the swim team is compared to, say, the track and field team. So in swimming, there was always a culture that nobody went out, went out away from the team or went out to celebrate until everyone had finished swimming. As soon as you had finished your races, you're expected at the pool every single session to support. So there is that kind of camaraderie that everyone's kind of going through the same thing. So you do understand. There's a real empathy with what's going on. There's a real understanding, and it is tight knit. So in some respects that's really good, but in other respects, actually, if you don't start off well and you have a big personality then going back to that environment who hasn't performed, that can have a negative impact as well. So you have to be careful that you don't get in that mindset thinking, okay, I'm part of this team, he hasn't performed well, therefore what's that mean for my performances? On the plus side, when it starts well, it tends to have a really good impact on the team. But it surprised me, when I see sort of, the track and field teams who quite often didn't used to go and support each other and would do their own thing, and they'd finish competing, they're off out, do what they want to do. And within swimming, it's a very tight community internationally as well. So as much as it's competitive, a lot of the guys are very close friends, train together. Even if they're in the same race, they will still go and train together, and the coaches will work together. So it's quite a strange sport. But you're right, as soon as you walk out and the referee blows his whistle and you get on the back of the blocks, you are on your own.
And talking about that environment, Bill Furness, the head coach, I would presume he deserves a lot of credit for the improvement that's happened in this World Championships.
Definitely. I think over the years we have had talented swimmers, we've had talented coaches, but they haven't been allowed to do their job. And for the first time in a long time, we have a British head coach. So he understands and knows the coaches, knows the swimmers, knows the setup. And really importantly, he comes from a private swimming club. So he was at Nova Centurion. He probably coached there for 30 plus years, maybe more. And he coached Rebecca Adlington. So he was outside of this, almost the system, in terms of he wasn't at a performance centre. He didn't coach a performance centre. Becky never swam at a performance centre. So he understands that while the centres like Loughborough and Bath are good for some swimmers to be in that environment amongst a good group, there are a lot of athletes who are actually better off being on their own, in their own training environment with their personal coach, much more one-to-one, and doing what they know best. And he doesn't interfere with what those coaches are doing because he didn't want to be interfered with when he was working with Becky. So he understands that it's not about going to coaches and saying, I know best, I coach Becky Adlington, you need to do it this way. He's more saying, right, you do your thing, how can I help? What do we need to do? He's got the experience if they need to ask him, because prior to Becky's, he's had athletes on Great Britain teams, you know, right from when he started out. So he's got experience of them competing, and he empowers the coaches to do their thing without piling pressure on them. And it's a much happier environment. And, you know, I've always said a happy swimmer is a fast swimmer. And to take that away and expect them to be not enjoying themselves, to be, you know, I was on the team with the performance director that people probably know, Bill Sweetenham, and he used to say, if you're smiling, you're not trying hard enough.
Wow. Which
is a very different mindset.
Yeah. But I guess there has to be something within that environment around belief. You know, if you're talking about the fact that, you know, the British team in previous times have done well in the trials and then leading up to major championships don't deliver, that might be a belief thing. He must have been able to somehow instill confidence in the group dynamic that there's the ability to win not just medals but golds.
Yeah, and it's a pressure thing as well. So if you're at trials and you know, your swimmer's done well, and then you have someone saying to you, they have to do that again, or we're going to lose funding. You need to get it right. You need to do this. You need to change their training. They're not doing enough meters. They need to change. And you have like the last few months where you're suddenly questioning what you've been doing, to someone saying, "Brilliant. Now we just need to repeat that. How are we going to do that again? What do you need?" You know, your swimmer's doing amazing, you've done an amazing job coaching, we can work together and we can make this happen again. It's miles apart, you know, and you've got the same swimmers, the same coaches, but it's belief, it's confidence, and you know, walking onto that poolside, actually knowing and believing that you've done the best training you could possibly do. When it's tiny margins, and Adam Peaty's race was pretty close, that 100 breaststroke, when it's tiny margins, every little bit counts. So to have that belief behind the block is a massive difference.
Yeah, and that's probably a dynamic that people outside of swimming don't quite appreciate. But Bill's working with so many other coaches, and their relationships with their swimmers is very individual. So, you know, James Guy's coach will be a very individual relationship to him, and Bill has to manage that very carefully. And I guess that's different to, you know, being a manager of a team where you are the boss and there may be coaches underneath you, but they're not quite as individual relationships. It's quite a careful dynamic, I guess, he's got to manage.
Yeah, it is, and there will be times when he's looking in thinking, oh, I wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah.
But do you say that to a coach or a swimmer 2 months out of a major championship, or do you work with them to actually find out, or is it the best? Is there a reason why they're doing that? How can we actually manage things so maybe in the next cycle they do something slightly different or try something slightly different? So you're right, he has to manage a lot of relationships and work with the coaches. And I think, you know, he would err on the side of caution, so he won't jump in and, you know, step in unless he would absolutely have to, whereas there are some personalities who are so sure that what they do is best that they can't help themselves.
No, yeah.